Picture a nation wavering at the brink of disorder, where noble lineage brought both authority and danger, and bonds between sisters were shaped not by affection, but by trials, terror, and rage. This tale transcends mere queens. It chronicles daughters trapped in the turbulence of their father's ruthless desires. What if I revealed that one sister was destined for command, while the other for submission? Yet fate rewrote their roles most surprisingly. Let us journey to the tempestuous era of Tudor England, where every crown concealed a path of treachery, anguish, and unparalleled competition. Few families in history present such a blend of magnificence and destruction as the Tudors. Henry V commanded the center, not merely a monarch, but a natural catastrophe, a ruler who challenged papal authority, demolished England's spiritual foundation, and transformed marriage and inheritance laws not for his realm, but to satisfy his personal fixation, producing a male heir to cement his dynasty. From this tempest of desire and turmoil emerged three remarkable offspring, each representing their father's thirst for dominance. Mary, the eldest, entered during prosperous times, child of Queen Catherine of Aragon, a Spanish noble of unwavering Catholic devotion. Mary enjoyed luxury, received preparation for leadership, and viewed herself as the legitimate successor to a mighty and unified Christian realm. Then emerged Elizabeth, born amid scandal and flames. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, had enchanted the monarch, but faced execution within 3 years of their union. Elizabeth bore that disgrace throughout her existence, intelligent, careful, and shaped by court intrigue's harsh realities. She would emerge as Protestant England's unlikely symbol. Finally arrived the long-awaited male heir, Edward VI. Jane Seymour's son gave Henry his ultimate treasure, a boy wrapped in advantage, elevated from infancy, yet physically weak and governed more by advisors than personal will. These three transcended mere royal offspring. They embodied living monuments to ambition, treachery, and shattered partnerships. Publicly, they were Tudor successors. Behind palace doors, they were pieces positioned for inevitable collision that would transform the kingdom. In the power struggle, even family could become enemies. Previously celebrated as England's precious gem, young Mary Tudor represented royal potential incarnate. Her early years glowed with advantage. She feasted at magnificent courts, mastered Latin fluently, and received Europe's finest education. Her mother, Queen Catherine of Aragon, ensured this preparation. Mary wasn't simply groomed as a princess, she was trained to govern. But Anne Boleyn's emergence transformed everything. Anne represented more than Henry's fresh fascination. She was the tempest that destroyed Mary's existence. Henry's declaration that his union with Catherine was void wasn't merely political maneuvering. It shattered Mary's world completely. The Queen's daughter became, in royal eyes, an illegitimate child of a dismissed marriage. Mary forfeited her status, court position, and most heartbreakingly, maternal contact. Henry's brutality manifested as psychological combat, denying Mary any communication with Catherine unless she accepted Anne as queen and acknowledged her own illegitimacy. She repeatedly refused, even as her mother's condition deteriorated. Catherine of Aragon's death in January 1536 deepened Henry's vindictiveness. He prohibited Mary from attending the burial. While courtiers celebrated Catherine's passing with gaudy festivities, Mary grieved alone, abandoned and disgraced. Yet from this humiliation, something indomitable grew. Mary's religious conviction and moral sense became protective shields. The suffering didn't destroy her, it forged someone entirely new. The girl who once bowed as England's beloved would rise again, not with grace, but with determination blazing and sovereignty within reach. Just as the world assumed Anne Boleyn had secured victory, the Tudor court demonstrated again that power remained eternally precarious. In a stunning collapse, Anne faced the most serious accusations: unfaithfulness, forbidden relations, betrayal. Guilty or innocent became irrelevant. Her 1536 execution was rapid, ending her celebrated reign with steel. Jane Seymour replaced her, subdued and compliant, Anne's complete opposite. Yet Jane accomplished what no previous queen had. She delivered Henry his desperately desired son. Edward, the anticipated heir, arrived amid jubilation and national celebration. For Mary and Elizabeth, their half-brother's birth altered their destinies. With a male successor established, their succession threat temporarily decreased. Though still labeled illegitimate, they discovered precarious tranquility in shared uncertainty. They understood better than to depend on royal favor, instead pursuing learning, survival, and careful political maneuvering. It was distant peace, yet still peace. However, the court remained treacherous territory. Jane Seymour perished soon after Edward's birth, and 3 additional wives would follow before Henry's final moment. The king's death in 1547 left a fractured realm and a 9-year-old boy monarch too young for genuine authority. Edward VI's crown was swiftly claimed by Protestant advisors determined to reshape England's spirit. Under their direction, religion became warfare, and Mary, deeply Catholic, again found herself on a battlefield, not of weapons, but of worship. Her adversary this time wasn't foreign enemies or competing nobles. It was her own blood, the small brother now wearing the crown. In a nation divided between ancient beliefs and reformed doctrine, Mary Tudor remained like an artifact from bygone days, immovable, faithful, and ready to defend her spiritual truth. Her brother Edward, though merely a child, had been influenced by passionate reformers. To him, Mary's Catholic ceremonies weren't simply personal choices. They were rebellious acts. Their confrontations weren't private. They occurred before nobles and foreign representatives, loud, passionate, unforgettable. One bitter Christmas Eve, the court witnessed in shocked silence as monarch and sister argued across the grand chamber, both weeping. One mourned for Rome's ancient customs. The other grieved for a future liberated from what he considered false worship. It was faith made personal and family turned political. But time opposed Edward. As sickness ravaged him, his Protestant England vision approached ruin. Desperately, he attempted the unthinkable. He ignored Henry Verrue's daughters and designated Lady Jane Grey, his cousin, fervently Protestant and barely 16, as his heir. This final attempt would collapse dramatically. They misjudged Mary. No longer the defeated girl banished from court, she emerged with blazing determination and supporters at her side. While Jane received a quiet, uncertain coronation, Mary was gathering noble families and common people alike. Within days, momentum shifted. London, unmoved by Jane's declaration, exploded in celebration at Mary's advance. What once appeared as obstinacy now seemed strength. Mary, defying expectations, seized her father's throne, not as an illegitimate daughter, but as England's lawful queen. Her faith had remained constant, and now her rule would too. Mary received coronation in a magnificent Catholic ceremony, declaring her purposes openly. England would rejoin Rome. For her, faith transcended politics. It was fate. But pursuing national purification, she initiated one of England's darkest periods. Nearly 300 Protestants, men, women, even children, perished in flames during her brief reign. To Mary, these deaths weren't barbaric. They were essential. As a true believer of her era, she feared England's souls would be damned if false teachings persisted. But while religion occupied her thoughts, love tortured her emotions. Her marriage to Spain's Philip, intended to restore Catholic rule, proved a cold, tragic mismatch. England dreaded becoming Spain's satellite. When Mary believed herself expecting, the nation prepared for a Catholic successor, but nature played a cruel trick, a phantom pregnancy likely caused by illness. The disappointment crushed Mary and confirmed her isolation. While Mary clung to diminishing hope and imaginary dreams of children, Elizabeth quietly returned to the complex game. Her every action faced scrutiny. The failed Wyatt uprising, seeking to remove Mary and crown Elizabeth, left a dangerous mark. Though Elizabeth denied participation, mere whispers of plotting were enough to brand her threatening. Taken to the Tower of London, Elizabeth entered the same cold stone cells where her mother, Anne Boleyn, had awaited death. The walls resonated with history and menace. At any instant, her tale could have concluded in bloodshed. Mary's advisors even prepared Elizabeth's death warrant. Legend claims Mary's pen lingered above the document before she hesitated, perhaps from guilt or fear of throwing England into greater turmoil. Elizabeth lived, but remained imprisoned in multiple ways, observed, confined, never trusted. Meanwhile, Mary's aspirations crumbled. Her hoped-for child never materialized. Her husband Philip distanced himself and departed for the continent, leaving her alone and unloved. England, once promised Catholic restoration, now drifted spiritually. Mary's opponents grew bolder while supporters dwindled. By 1558, her health collapsed, her dreams turned to dust, and popular loyalty transferred. Courtiers began visiting Elizabeth at Hatfield, aligning with the ascending power. On November 17th, Mary died, broken physically and emotionally. Her reign, characterized by unwavering faith and relentless fire, concluded as history branded her name, Bloody Mary. Mary's death brought the crown to Elizabeth, not through revolt, but through quiet certainty. At merely 25, she claimed the throne not with revolution, but with preparation. The nation waited anxiously. Could a disgraced queen's daughter truly govern? She did more than govern, she transformed kingship itself. Yet Elizabeth never ruled independently. Her reign, however long and glorious it became, was constructed upon the unstable foundation her sister had left. Mary had demonstrated that women could wear crowns with authority. She enacted legislation affirming that a queen's power equaled a king's. She established the model for female rule and endured the results. Mary's financial reforms, her early naval investments, her struggle to consolidate power, these became instruments Elizabeth wielded with far greater effectiveness. Where Mary governed with rigid faith, Elizabeth governed with eloquent diplomacy. Where Mary alienated, Elizabeth captivated. But both sisters, despite their differences, shared identical fire. They inherited their father's ambition, their mother's wisdom, and a kingdom that questioned women's right to rule. Yet they ruled nonetheless. One will be recalled with dread, the other with reverence, but both undoubtedly earned their position in England's legacy. History typically celebrates the winner, but examine more closely and you'll discover that Mary and Elizabeth's story isn't merely about who reigned longer or died more cherished. It's about surviving in a masculine world. It's about two women molded by trauma, hardened by betrayal, who achieved power in an age that attempted to silence them. In doing so, they didn't merely leave a heritage, they altered the monarchy's very essence.